Today I'm going to show you 5 books that have the potential to completely change your life. I have read literally dozens of books throughout my bachelor's and my master's, and I have put them all into a table, yes, every single one of them, and I applied 5 different subjective measures to them, such as how easy or how difficult the technical language is, how applicable to a single person's life the book might be, among others. But I'm not going to create categories just based on these measures. I wouldn't just give you the easiest psychology book if it had no depth to it, right? So instead, I had artificial intelligence look at all of these measures, analyze them, and make calculations in order to divide all of these books into 5 wildly different pre-established conditions. Isn't that right, Friday?
That's right. I did the math.
And I did all of this, firstly, because I'm on holiday and have no life, but secondly, so that you could find the perfect psychology book for you here on this video. It will have a book for people who never read a psychology book before, a book that helps you get more productive, one book about the brain and all the awesome things that we know about it, and one book about mental health. Finally, there will be the holy grail of psychology books, which is the book that got the highest overall score. I'm so excited. Let's have fun. I call the first condition or category BFPB. This is a technical term that me and Friday came up with, and it stands for Baby's First Psychology Book. I put into this category all the books that felt good as a starting point if you've never read a psychology book before. And what's important is not only that the book is accessible so that it's easy to read, but also that it is as engaging as humanly possible. If you're very into the topic, I guess that you can forgive that the book is a little dull at times. But if you're just getting started, you're kind of seeing if psychology really is your thing, I assume that you want to just get to the point. An advantage here though is that it's okay if the book has all of the baseline stuff. So you can have the marshmallow experiment, you can have the baby monkey shenanigan, because you're probably not tired of those yet. In case you're curious, by the way, the first one, you put a marshmallow in front of a kid and you tell them to wait for a minute without eating it, and if they don't, they get another one. Basically, the smart kids don't eat the marshmallow. I totally would. The second one is Harlow's monkey experiment. It's very famous. He basically showed that baby monkeys, they need their mothers for care and for love and cuddling as much as they need for food, or even more.
2 words, adorable.
After careful consideration and an Excel file that took way longer to make than I'm proud to admit, the book that made the top of the category for Baby's First Psychology Book was The Happiness Hypothesis by Jonathan Haidt. This book is an absolute gem. It delivers the perfect blend between deep insights and readability. It's a real journey that Haidt takes you in through the science of happiness in what we currently know about it, according to the literature. He mentions old school philosophy and a lot of known references that you might be aware of, which makes it interesting and a nice little bonus for familiarity, even if you're new to the topic. He talks about all the big questions related to being happy. He will undoubtedly explain the marshmallow experiment to you again, and the baby monkey one, which only shows that he wrote this book for everyone. I'd show you my copy, but I've handed it to a friend and she hasn't given it back yet. So Sal, if you're watching this, please take care of my book. A couple of additional options if you're looking for your first psychology book are Behave by Robert Sapolsky or Stumbling on Happiness by Daniel Gilbert. I'll leave links for everything in the description in case you're interested. Friday, what's the next category?
The next category is called Get Stuff Done, Psych for Productivity. This category is dedicated to books that delve into the fascinating realm of human productivity and motivation. Things that, well, I don't need. But anyway.
For this category, we have a third, second, and first place. In the third place came Flow by Friday.
It's pronounced Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi.
Thank you. If you haven't heard of it, it is a nice option. He talks about the state of flow, which is when you're doing something, and it can be anything, and you don't even see time going by because you're so involved with the activity. It is a very interesting one, and I do recommend it. In second place came Atomic Habits by James Clear. He takes principles from behavioral therapy and he gives you so you can apply it in your own life. The idea is to teach you how to remove bad habits from your life and how to add new habits that are presumably more healthy based on evidence. But my favorite book for productivity and getting stuff done was Make Time, How to Focus on What Matters Every Day by Jake Knapp and John Zaraski. Make Time is just incredible. Both Jake and John used to work at Google, and they took part in developing apps like Google Calendar, Google Hangout, and they got some pretty unique insights into why people even want to use these apps and why we're always searching for productivity. And they essentially tackle what it is that it means to be productive productive, which is applying our time in the best possible way. And to break it down, they apply it to the real world with technology now that we have apps to help us, but we also have endless distractions. They call this the infinity pool, which is like things you can just scroll forever for unlimited content. And they teach you some like inside tricks and knowledge for you to know what it is that your apps can do for you and what they want from you, so that you can use the apps instead of them using you, pretty much. They also go against the idea that every single second of your life has to be productive and that you have to do everything at every moment. And when you're just relaxing, for example, you must feel guilty. It is just a very insightful book. It changed the way that I look at productivity, which is something that I'm very passionate about. There is so much knowledge in the book, Make Time, that I would need literally a whole video just to talk about it. All I can say is that every single section of the book is worth your time. Now we're getting close to the end. Third condition is called brain decoding. This one is for people who are interested in our brains and what they do. These books are undoubtedly more complicated, but they also have more content in them and you can go a bit deeper into the science. This is the category for people who are already familiar with psychology or that they want a bit of a challenge to start with. And there was actually no doubt in this category. The book I'm going to recommend to you is The Strange Order of Things by Antonio Damasio. I love Damasio's books. He has several, they're all great. They're not very long. I don't have a physical copy for The Strange Order of Things. I have that on my Kindle, but just for measure, the Cartera is like this size. It's not too intimidating, but it is a bit dense, and so is The Strange Order of Things. He's a neuroscientist and a very well-known and very renowned one. So he tries to go simple with the way that he writes things, and he accomplishes that most of the time, but you can just see that sometimes he's too smart to dumb it down. But still, there's a lot of theoretical things here, but it's still a very readable book. The Strange Order of Things is a book about emotions and about their deep-rooted connections in the brain. There is so much to human emotion and so much that we can learn about the brain. It's still an area that we don't know that much about, and at least for me, that's what makes it really fascinating. In the book, he talks about how emotion shapes our self-awareness, our consciousness, even our cultures. He even discusses the idea, and it's one of the main ideas of the book, that emotions are actually what makes us human, not our intelligence, which just couldn't be more applicable to what we're living right now.
I'm not sure I understand what you're implying.
Never mind, I'm gonna cut that. A pack of honorable mentions, if you're looking for brain books, are all of Oliver Sacks' books, and if you want to pick that up, Hallucinations is a pretty good choice. Now, moving on. Next, we have one very popular category, and then we go into the holy grail of books. Friday, what's category number 4?
We called category number 4 mental health and well-being. We know that a lot of people who want to read a psychology book are expecting to read about mental health. It is one of the main things that psychology is used for, after all. As we've seen throughout this video, it's not all that it's used for, though.
Thanks, Friday, and that's true. Psychology is a pretty broad subject, but this category is exactly what you would expect. It's about mental health, about well-being. We're looking for books that offer guidance on stress, anxiety, depression. I created a measure on the table that was pretty much, is this a mental health book or not? So here we're looking for a book that wants to be a mental health book and that is recognized for it. And that is exactly what I found with Chasing the Scream by Johann Hari. This book is about addiction, but not the addiction that we're used to talking about.
Human beings have a natural and innate need to bond. And when we're happy and healthy, we'll bond and connect with each other. But if you can't do that, you will bond with something that will give you some sense of relief.
Chasing the Scream really tells a story of how Johann Hari went on a personal journey. One of his first ever memories was related to someone who overdosed, and he wanted to find out how we should tackle this problem. And he started on a personal level. He wanted to know how we could help individuals. And the way that he followed and people that he met and the things that he studied actually led him to a more social view of what addiction is. Hari does not think that the opposite of addiction is sobriety. He thinks that the opposite of addiction is connection. We get addicted to things in the first place because we don't fulfill the human need of connection. And this is the reason why we can get addicted to pretty much anything. We can be addicted to video games, you can be addicted to food, you can even be addicted to other people. Anything that has negative consequences that outweigh the good ones and we still can't stop can be considered to be an addiction. This is one of the greatest books that I have ever read, and I highly recommend that you do as well. If you're looking for something more specific, you can read Lost Connections by the same author, which is about depression. Or if you want a book about anxiety, you can read Breath by James Nestor. Now for the last category, the one we've been waiting for, the holy grail of all books. I'm super glad that I came up with this system to rate my books and to think about them this way, and that I had Friday's help.
You're welcome. I'm programmed to say that I'm glad to help you, so I will.
Because choosing one book would have been pretty much impossible. And I didn't even like reading as a teenager. Psychology books is how I fell in love with it again, and how I fell in love with psychology in the first place. How I decided that I wanted to dedicate like my professional life to it, and a lot of my free time as well, as you can see. I want you to know that I'm not trying to say that any of these books are like objectively better than any other books. These are my personal recommendations. They come from completely subjective measures. With that said, my favorite psychology book of all time is Daniel Kahneman's Thinking Fast and Slow. Yes, it's popular. Yes, it's cliche. All I'm saying is that there's a reason. I love this book. I'll probably do my master thesis about this subject. It's awesome. It talks about one theory. It's super simple, but it applies to pretty much anything that we do at all times, and like it isn't even like biologically accurate, or like it doesn't pretend to, but it's such a quirky and smart way to look at human cognition that I just love this. Thinking Fast and Slow is written in such a way that anyone can go through this book, no matter your expertise, and I promise you that you will learn something new in every single chapter. Everything he says is masterfully backed up by scientific data. Not sponsored, by the way. This book relies on a simple theory, and that is that there are two versions of ourselves. One version thinks fast, and he's intuitive, creative, it's our gut feelings and instincts. He's good at associating things and on creating new things. The other version thinks slow. He is deliberative, he's cautious, thorough, but also lazy. With every decision that we make in our day-to-day lives, no matter how simple or how complicated, we have to pick which version of ourselves we want to listen to. And the truth is that often they give different answers to the same question. The hard part is knowing which side we want to listen to. So how do we do that? Well, that's where science comes in.
Yes, science!
I have read literally hundreds of articles about this. It's a topic called judgment, decision-making under uncertainty, and it's awesome. And I'm also getting a bit ahead of myself. I've condensed everything I've learned throughout these years about when we should listen to our gut instincts and when we should ignore it. And I've prepared a document with everything, and I've organized it already, and I have a script with everything. But I'm not going to just release that video. So if I can ask you anything, please either comment this video or send it to one of your friends, and I'll be so happy. And once we reach 45 likes on this video, whenever that happens, I'm going to release that video. Alright, I've been Kappabyte, and I occasionally talk about psychology. I'll see you next time.